Secretary of State Adrian is with us. We're waiting for Kamala Harris. She is set to speak at 2 o'clock. We'll take those statements live when she takes the dais outside of her alma mater, Howard University. Secretary Fontes, we had a debate, I think last night. We were talking about the efficiency of getting those ballots in. Speed has obviously been a big topic. Probably the question you've been asked the most this election cycle is
sure.
How long is it going to take? So we said, look, some of these smaller counties, they don't have as many to count. But then I made the point, they also don't have as many resources. Mm-hmm. So is this sort of a wash, or do we see that things do go faster in smaller counties? And is that indicative of Maricopa County needing more resources?
Well, they do it in different ways.
Okay.
The counties have different methods for doing stuff. So, for example, some counties have a security envelope that you put your ballot envelope inside of, and they got to take that out.
Right.
Before they do the signature verification.
One more step.
Some of them have a little rip thing on the outside of the security envelope so they can rip the security thing before even opening the security envelope to check the signature. Some of them have paper signature. They'll do manual signature verification. So they'll actually have the ballot in front of them or the ballot envelope in front of them, and they'll look on the screens. We've got 15 different ways of running elections in Arizona. We're a bottom-up state. And when we here in, the great state of Maricopa, when we talk about elections, we tend to only talk about the way it happens in Maricopa County, but it's very different in a lot of other counties. And, that's just a function of some counties are much bigger, have many more resources, and some of them are much smaller. But look, Maricopa County is exponentially bigger than some of these other counties.
Yeah.
You're talking about 2.5, almost 2.6 million voters. We've got a couple of counties with less than 10,000.
Yeah.
It's a completely different circumstance. And so the way we do things here in Maricopa is just light years different from the way you do things in other places. And it's just the volume is so much bigger.
I heard you yesterday on some of our election coverage. You were talking about the frustration that you feel with the legislature in that they've got these different security measures, which you mentioned makes us the most secure in the nation, but also on the cheap. It's so incredibly cheap. How do we? In fact, I think you made the comparison. We're paying for a Yugo, but we expect a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
So
I might have said Cadillac because it's American made.
Either way, you also said you dated yourself, and I thought that was great.
I haven't
seen a Yugo in 30 years.
Yeah.
So what is it that more money would do? Does it hire more people? Does it create more space to be able to spread things out? What does it do?
Yes, and yes. We can, bolster a lot of the technological systems that we use right now. Particularly, for example, I can tell you specifically at the, Secretary of State's office, we've got a voter registration system that was hobbled together back in 2017, 2018 timeframe. I was the Maricopa County recorder at the time, and boy, this thing has needed just so much maintenance and we just don't have the people to do what the counties need us to do to maintain this system because it's their voter registration system.
I see.
Like we hold it in trust for the counties. 13 of the counties use the system in my office for their day-to-day. So when I'm asking for them. I'm not asking for me, but I'm the one with the technicians. I'm the one with the maintenance and operation budget for it. And we actually charge the counties, but they never pay the full amount. But then we're charging these counties who can't pay for, their own basic infrastructure in a lot of cases. And think about Apache County. They're going to lose 70% of their total revenue in, I think, 2035 because the coal plant is shutting down.
Wow.
So think about a county government losing 70% of its total budget, doesn't get any help from the state for elections. And when the state does help, for example, this March, we had a presidential preference election. Mm-hmm. By statute, for some reason, the folks in the legislature set the amount per ballot, per voter that they were going to pay the counties to do this state function. Well, that doesn't even cover half of the costs anymore, but they haven't changed the statute. So when they give me money to distribute to the counties, I can only give them half of what they spent. So basically, it's an unfunded mandate, but it doesn't stop at the state level. Now that we're talking about this, the federal candidates on federal ballots under federal rules in federal elections, we get $0 from the federal government to run our federal elections. And it is part of American critical infrastructure. It's the only part of critical infrastructure in this country that has zero sustained dollars.
Wow.
So I'm saying, you want better elections? Pay for them.
And
that's a mic drop right there from the Secretary of State.
It's interesting you say that because we're going to dive into just how much money was spent on this election, but not on actually conducting the election, just on trying to get people elected.
That's a whole different ball of wax.
Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, pleasure having you in here. Love
Thanks
seeing
so much.
you. I hope we get a chance to see you a little bit more
Appreciate
often. I know you've got
talking
some
to
other projects coming up. We're looking forward to be able to discuss those.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe, and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.